Yo, what's going on, y'all? Episode 112, the Respeck Da Chat podcast. We got a little bit of a different crew today. You may notice that this isn't Mike's voice, who usually does the intros. It's Ryan from Respeck Da Chat Crew. I'm here with my boys out in Pittsburgh. We're bringing you the quick March Madness episode. We just dropped one on Sunday, talking about everything, football, UFC, all that. Now we had to get the basketball experts in and talk about this upcoming March Madness and maybe throw in a little NBA fantasy. Let's introduce our guests. For those of you watching on YouTube, in the top right is Big Steve. In the top left is Cerb.
Yo.
The champ.
The champ.
As we refer to him on this podcast. What you guys doing? How you guys feeling today? You guys confident in these brackets?
I'm still waiting on that champ sweatshirt though.
Ooh, I mean, hey, yo, for all you listeners out there, I gave the champ a proposition. If he gets us 1,000 views on TikTok, which if you guys are TikTok users is not a lot.
It's not that hard.
It's not that much. I'll get him a personalized Respeck Da Chat crew neck, the ones we be wearing, and it'll have the champ on it. But, you know, he's yet to step up to his responsibility. I might pass over the opportunity to Big Steve. What do you think?
You see, I need a new crew neck.
You seem like a TikToker.
I need one.
Right.
Hey, for the crew neck, it could be a TikToker.
Ooh, so let's get into it. So March Madness is upon us. We're blessed this year being able to actually watch college basketball in March after everything shut down. They seem like they have a bunch of, contingency plans in just in case anyone has to drop out. They have like teams on notice that could just hop right in. You guys seen that?
That's the thing is like this year is like way different because like you already saw Duke, like not that they had like expectations to win or anything, but one walk-on got COVID or was like in contact with COVID. The whole team's like out of the tournament. And just like this whole year is like up in the air. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and Virginia too also
had... that's how...
Go ahead.
I was just saying that's how Georgia Tech ended up in the ACC championship game.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
They got to skip a couple games. All of a sudden, they steal ACC championship. I mean, it's just a different year. You got to fight through more things than just winning and losing games. Just got to stay safe. Got to stay away from everyone. Got to quarantine.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, though, because that's the first thing I want to get into is these crazy conference tournament winners. For all you guys who are keeping up with March Madness and going in making your brackets, there was, I think, about 3 or 4 bids stolen from bubble teams because the conference tourneys were won by someone who had no business being in the tournament. I'll run through that. The top 3 that I'm talking about is one, the Pac-12 championship, which was won by Oregon State, who's now, I think, a 12 seed?
That was nuts.
Yeah.
That was definitely the biggest upset. I saw, was it I think it was somebody who bet on Oregon State from the get and ended up cashing out like $50K because they said they were going to win. That's just like ridiculous.
Insane. They were projected last. They were projected before the season to finish last in the Pac-12.
Yeah. But that's just what makes college basketball so fun is like you never, like anybody can win.
Oh, yeah.
Especially this year. It's like a total toss-up.
Right. And we were watching, we didn't watch too much of the Oregon State game. Me and Steve, but we did watch this next one. We watched Georgetown upset team after team after team in the Big East to win the Big East championship by 30. What's up with that?
That's like one of those teams, man. We were talking about this before. I mean, teams just catch fire right now in March in the conference tournament, and these are always the teams that seem like they're upsetting people in the tournament.
Oh yeah.
So the teams that are hot now, I like going to the tourney.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard not to. No doubt.
Yeah, that's the thing is, like, we were talking about it, how teams now, if you're watching the conference tournament and they're getting hot and they're staying hot, it's like throw out whatever you know from the rest of the season, which is good because we don't even watch the regular season, so it doesn't even matter. But if you're watching these conference tournaments, it's all about who gets hot when. So I'm super excited this week for it to start. I got a couple of the other conference tournament winners. Illinois won the Big Ten Conference. Georgia Tech, like we were saying, stole the ACC from teams like Virginia, North Carolina, the big names like that. They played Florida State in the finals. Houston won their conference. They beat Cincinnati, who usually wins that conference.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Houston was a really good team this year. They were probably getting in either way.
I like Houston this year.
They're the two coming into the bracket, right?
Yeah,
They were. I think they were ranked 7th nationally, and then they came in. I mean, they could defend, they could shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense
they're going to be trouble for some teams.
Oh yeah,
tournament for sure.
Yeah, teams like that.
Really
teams like that always surprise and like upset a lot of brackets because now no one really watches those games. So like when you see, when you're making a bracket and you're like a casual observer, right, and you see Houston has a 2 seed, you're like quick to be like, okay, well this team can get upset because, I mean, Houston a 2 seed. Haven't really heard much about them, but like you said, they're 7th ranked nationally before this coming in. So I feel like that could be a team that can make a deep run depending on their shooters and, like you said, their defense. Another team, did Ohio get an at-large bid, or did they win their conference? I know they're playing Virginia, and that's like they're from the MAC, and that's not a conference that gets at-large bids too frequently. I would have to look that up, but the team that I'm really looking forward to watching is Winthrop. If you guys have seen any like highlights or anything about Winthrop, they went. I believe they only lost 1 or 2 games this season. They're a 12 seed coming in, and they're facing Virginia without their point guard Colin Gillespie.
Dude, after watching Virginia lose to the 1 seed, I just lost all trust in them.
Right.
I don't know. That's the other thing with Houston though too is like. I feel like they're kind of reliant on their defense.
Did I say Virginia? I meant Villanova.
You said Virginia.
I meant Villanova.
Villanova too, though.
Yeah, I meant Villanova.
They're not like they were in past years. I think they're a 5. This year? In the bracket.
Ohio is playing Virginia. That's how I got mixed up. Ohio's playing Virginia.
That's the 12
Ohio did win their conference, though.
They did.
They won their conference championship. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I heard they have like a star player. They're one of those teams that they have just a solid team, but they have 1 star player who could go first round this year. I saw a lot of people saying
when he was
right.
Yeah,
it's a great comparison. I'm glad you brought up that Virginia team because today actually is the 3-year anniversary of when Virginia got kicked out by the 16th seed UMBC University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
Nuts.
So I pose this question to you guys. Which of the number 1 seeds coming in this year do you think has the biggest chance of that 16-over-1 happening? Because it's only happened once. Like we said, before that, it's never happened. The number 1 seeds this year are Michigan, Gonzaga, Baylor, and Illinois. Of those 4, what do you think, Cerb? Which one do you think has the biggest chance of being upset?
I think Baylor.
Baylor?
I don't see either Gonzaga or Illinois losing.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're just too solid of teams, and 16s aren't going to be able to hold them. Baylor, I don't think any 1 seeds are going to lose in the first round, to be honest. But if there was going to be one, I think it's Baylor.
All right. What about you, Steve? What do you think?
I was going to say the same thing. Baylor's just I don't know what it is with Baylor. Are they there? They have is that one who Davion Mitchell?
Yeah, Davion Mitchell, Jared Butler.
They have the Donovan Mitchell knockoff. I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I'm a little biased because I'm a big Michigan fan. So I don't think Michigan's gonna lose. Gonzaga's been nasty all year, and then I mean Illinois, one of those teams I was saying earlier. They've been playing really, really well. We were talking about before. I love their point guard that they have. They have Ayu Dosunmu. He's been a bucket all year. He played a little bit iffy in the conference championship game, but they're role players. That Georgie, the big guy from the backup. I mean, they have a solid deep team. So I really like Illinois. I think Illinois can go far. But Baylor's a team for me that I could see getting upset. Maybe not in the first round, but earlier than the others.
Yeah, I'm honestly not like 100% sold on Michigan either, though.
Yeah.
Like I don't think Michigan's gonna lose, but I think that between them and Baylor, I think they have the highest chances of out of the 1 seeds to possibly just like blow it.
Yeah, I mean I agree with that. For those of you who don't really watch college basketball, what we were referring to is Baylor has this guard, and his name is Davion Mitchell. Really solid point guard, shooting guard for Baylor. He wears number 45. He has a similar build to Donovan Mitchell. His name is Davion Mitchell, and he has zero relation to Donovan Mitchell. Zero relation whatsoever. At least one we couldn't find by a quick Google search. Every time we looked it up, I went to YouTube. I was watching the recruitment video for him. I was looking for any sort of hint. Nothing. No sort of relation to Donovan Mitchell.
If there was a relation to Donovan Mitchell, that's all they would talk about.
Right.
For sure. Yeah.
But
every time we've watched him play this year, like he has to be.
He's got to be, right?
And we look it up again, and we're like, nope, nothing. Like,
because he has a certain style of play that's like different than most NBA players. So like it sticks out, and the fact that he plays even remotely like Donovan Mitchell is just like it's too weird to almost not be true.
And to wear number 45, you got to like really.
That too.
I feel like you have to really admire Donovan Mitchell. Like there's no way that your name is so similar. And like your play style so similar, and you rock the same number. Like, but moving on from
with Baylor,
yeah,
I know one thing I do know about Baylor, which is always, I mean, I could be a little bit biased about me saying they're going to get knocked out, but on the contrary, they have some really good guards, and in March, if you have some deep guard play, like you're going to be tough to beat. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens, but I mean, out of the other ones.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So to answer my own question, I think for me it'd be Michigan, just because, well, like you said, we don't think that. Don't go filling out your brackets with this, with our advice here, because it's only happened once ever, and I don't see it happening again for a very long time. But it does open the door for these possibilities. But I say Michigan just because their best player is coming off an ankle injury, if he's even able to play in the first few rounds. Isaiah Livers is his name, and he is supposed to be a first round, if not a lottery pick, this upcoming year, and he won't be playing in the first few rounds if he plays at all in the tournament. So he got that. This is what got them kicked out of the Big Ten conference tournament, is that he wasn't able to play. So I have confidence that they'll be able to, put something together, figure it out for this tournament without him. But if I had to pick any of those teams, I'd have to go with Michigan for that reason. But talking about top prospects, a bunch of us don't, we don't watch a ton of college basketball. We get a lot of our stuff from social media, highlights, and just watching the conference tournament and watching March Madness. Of the big names out there that are in this tournament, are in March Madness, who do you think can make a big statement to maybe boost their draft stock? Names that come to mind are like Mac McClung, Jalen Suggs, the big man from Illinois, what's his name? Kofi Coburn. He's been overshadowed a little bit by, well, Steve said, Dosumu, their best player in terms of draft prospects. But if you could pick one player that could show out and really improve their stock here, what do you think?
I mean, I think the obvious one that once you said it was Mac McClung, honestly, just because I feel like he's not like a huge guard. He's had a pretty good season, but I feel like somebody like him is really gonna have to stand out if he wants to be drafted even in the first round. Okay. I don't even necessarily know if he might be late first round as a draft, but this is where people start to notice if you really this is can you play in the big moments? Can you make the big shots? Can you make the right plays? And it's always against the best teams. So this is when really people start to notice those college players. So obviously it's a really important time. But I think Mac McClung has a lot to prove before he's even considered to be somebody that NBA teams want.
Yeah.
I think he'll make it to the NBA. I'm pretty confident about that, but I don't think teams are chomping at the bit to get him right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. What do you think, Steve?
I'll throw a name out there. We watched him play
in the
conference tournament. Wayne Washington Jr.
Ooh.
From Ohio State.
Okay.
He was giving them buckets. They ended up losing, but he's one of those guys. He's an NBA build who's third team, all the Big Ten, and he I mean, like Cerb was saying, he was hitting the big shots. He wasn't afraid of the big moment.
Oh, yeah.
He ended with 30, I think. I mean, and he just showed out. And someone like him, I mean, he has the build of an NBA shooting guard. I mean, whether or not he was on the draft prospect list, I'm not really sure of. But, I mean, if someone like that, I mean, it kind of reminds me of Dante DiVincenzo or like a Grayson Allen.
Yeah.
Someone who really doesn't have that big of a season during the year, all of a sudden, like, has a really big March, and all of a sudden they're a lottery pick.
Yeah.
Especially Dante DiVincenzo, because he left after that year when he had 30 in the national championship game.
Yeah.
But I mean, someone like Dwayne Washington, I mean, you can go from a no-name to a lottery pick just like that in 3 or 4 games. So I mean, he already proved a big point in the Big Ten tournament. So I'm excited to watch him play again.
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna say that's a really good point because before that, no one was, he wasn't on SportsCenter getting all these sort of hype ups or highlights, or he wasn't on anyone's draft board, I don't think, in terms of lottery picks. But he comes in against a team like Illinois that's one of a lot of people's favorites to win the tournament, and just lights them up in the Big Ten championship for 30 plus, and gives Ohio State even a chance at winning that. So I think that's a really good example. I would say someone like someone like a Greg Brown out of Texas or Scotty Barnes of Florida State. People who are like two guys who had all the hype coming into college. People were already projecting them, to be a lottery pick before they even played a single possession in college, but have played well, but could probably play better in terms of boosting their draft stock. And this is the time to do it. This is where all the eyes are on all the prospects, all the teams. Scotty Barnes, what was it? He comes off the bench now. I think he won ACC's big sixth man of the year, if I'm not mistaken. And then Greg Brown has just had some issues, keeping his composure, staying in games from what we saw. But I'd say one of those two guys. But this is just such a crazy time that I feel like everyone enjoys, whether you're a basketball fan or not. You can get in on a bracket. You just enjoy. Everyone likes a good underdog story, and March is all about those mid-major teams coming in. No one's ever heard of them before, but they make a name for themselves against these big teams. But my last point about March Madness before we get into a little bit of NBA fantasy talk, that's how I want to transition this, because all three of us are in with Mike and the rest of the RDC crew, a couple others in our NBA fantasy league, family fantasy league. It's a tough playoff battle. But real quick before we get into that. So the statistic was the last time a team went undefeated throughout the entire season and won the national championship game, neither Duke or Kentucky were in the NCAA tournament. And this year, we have another undefeated team coming in without Duke or Kentucky in the tournament. What do you guys think about that? Steve, I'll start with you. Do you think this could be the year that it happens again? Does history repeat itself, or do you see it going a different way?
We were talking about this before. I don't know what it is about undefeated teams, but I don't like them going into any type of playoffs. I mean, the thing with the Gonzaga that's a little bit different in previous years, and Gonzaga's been tested all year. I mean, they played a rough non-conference schedule. They played big teams. They didn't shy away from any moments. And I'm not sure. I mean, Duke always folds in the tournament, so I don't even know if it matters if they're in or not. They love folding. But, I mean, I definitely wouldn't bet against Gonzaga. That's what I'd say.
Okay.
I mean, if you have them in your Final Four, I think you can't go wrong with Gonzaga in your Final Four.
Okay.
I'll say that.
What do you think, Cerb? Is this the year?
Is this the year they go undefeated? No, I don't think it is.
Okay.
But again, like Steve just said, like if you have them like going really far, even making the finals, it's not like that's a bad pick. Like when Virginia was the number 1 seed, like when they lost to the 16, like nobody was expecting them to like go far. I think this team will go far. I just don't have them winning it all. If they did win it all, it's not like I'd be baffled, but
right.
I think that this year more so than other years, so Gonzaga, like nobody really ever trusted I don't think anybody really trusts Gonzaga's teams in the past.
Right.
I think people thought they were kind of a fluke that they even made it to where they are. I think this year they actually have star talent as opposed to previous years where they just had like a good coaching and like a pretty solid team.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think they're going to win it all? No. But if they did, it's not like I would be baffled.
Yeah.
It's tough. They have a tough road ahead of them. These teams are no joke this year. Like Illinois really is like, they're tough. Even some of the other seeds, like honestly, Texas. I like Texas a lot this year too.
Yeah,
I think they're going to be. I think they're going to be a team that kind of sneaks in there. I think there are 4. I think I like them a lot this year. But do I think Gonzaga is going to go undefeated now?
All right. Yeah, I mean, like you both said, I wouldn't be surprised if they came in and made history with winning the national championship and going undefeated the whole season. They're a great team, top to bottom. They're deep. They have great shooters. They have superstar talent, great coaching. But like you both said, I think there's other teams this year that, besides the Dukes and Kentuckys, that have talent. And I think that speaks to more of how college basketball is going to start going, that you don't have to go to a North Carolina, a Duke, or a Kentucky to, get to the NBA and to get noticed. Guys like, Cade Cunningham going to Oklahoma State, guys going all sorts of places, mid-majors even sometimes, that I think there's been a lot bigger of an emphasis on finding the place that fits your style and what will be best for you rather than just trying to go to the best college, like the best name. And then most of them end up transferring out anyway. Most of them, either they don't have the year they expected or they sit and they transfer to a smaller school and they get some shine. So I think
that's, I was going to say, that's like a good point you're making, because like in past years, it's like the games that people are watching are the Dukes, North Carolina, Louisville, even sometimes, like those really, really big name schools. But now people, I think they care less about the school and more about the player. And like, if you're good enough, like even John Morant, like he was, he was on like a 13 seed. Like they weren't anything special, but like there's so much coverage, social media. Like you see these players like, online and on Twitter or whatever.
Oh yeah.
It's just like there's a lot more emphasis on players as opposed to like what school they're at.
Right.
So, yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Right. The reach is just,
it's crazy.
It doesn't. You don't have to watch a team on television. Go ahead, Steve.
I mean, there are just. I mean, even like other teams that usually aren't that good, like the Alabamas, the LSU's. I mean, Alabama's a deep team. I really like Alabama.
Okay.
We watch Alabama and LSU play.
Oh yeah.
Good.
And I mean, Alabama has SEC Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year, and like Herb Jones, he's one of those guys that we were talking about earlier. But he could be one of the guys that raises the draft stock.
Yeah.
And then LSU had Trendon Watford. Yeah, we watch him give Defensive Player of the Year 30 in that game. So I mean, those are the guys that I like. Those are the matchups I'm excited to see with those SEC teams and the Big Ten teams. To me, are going to be tough matchups for everyone.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think those two conferences are pretty deep.
Yeah, and what we were saying is, that's a really good point you brought up, because besides all the Duke, Kentucky, Virginia, those type of teams, Kansas, take a look at the 1s and the 2 seeds this year. 1 seeds, Gonzaga, Baylor, Michigan, Illinois, like we said before, a couple big teams there. But look at the 2 seeds, a team like Iowa, Alabama, Ohio State, which is normally a football school, Houston getting a 2 seed. Like, there are plenty of talented players that go wherever they want to go and they see fit, that you don't have to, like, it's starting to fade out, I think, a little bit. Kentucky, I want to go to Kentucky, I want to go to Kansas, I want to go to Duke. It's more now, okay, if I'm getting recruited by them and that's a good fit for me, then that's where I'll go. I think that a lot of people are being smarter with that, because like Cerb said, social media, you'll get recognition. There's no shortage of cameras on you. So I think
another.
Go ahead.
No, you're go ahead.
No, I was going to transition.
I was just gonna say, like, kind of what you're. I was just gonna say, kind of what you're saying. I mean, a little bit of the rule change. I think a little bit has the rule change of the G League and the NBA. Some big name guys are going to the G League, and then other guys like LaMelo Ball and I'm forgetting the other point guard's name that went with him that year.
RJ Hampton.
That played overseas. Yeah, RJ Hampton. Those guys kind of paid the way, and other people are going overseas. And then also, kind of like what we were talking about before, the Greg Browns and Scotty Barnes. I mean, Greg Brown was also coming off the bench. Scotty Barnes is fifth man of the year in the ACC. And then teams are just kind of spread out. Teams are a little bit older, like Iowa. You were talking about Iowa. They have a bunch of seniors on their team. They're an experienced squad. I mean, it's a little bit different dynamic. They're not just all like the Duke, Kentucky 5 freshmen.
Yeah.
All lottery picks. So, I mean, it's more of a team. It feels more like a bit more like college basketball this year.
Yeah. Do you think that, just to stick on what you were saying real quick, these sort of guys pave that way, that they show that there's multiple paths to the NBA? Because when you're going to play Division I college basketball at a big school and stuff, you want to make it to the NBA. That's your goal. Like, you want to play professionally somewhere, and NBA is your number one spot. Showing that there's all sorts of paths and stuff, do you think that has contributed to how good college basketball is, like, this feels this year and will continue to be? That on top of the rule that they changed, that you could enter the draft, and if you don't, if it doesn't pan out, if you don't get the prospects you're hoping for, you can come back to school. You're not just stuck trying to go play at some random place overseas or the G League or whatever. That these guys start returning, and now we start having, they have their new draft class plus a couple guys coming back, some experience. What do you guys think about? Do you think that's something that's beneficial?
Yeah, it's definitely beneficial. Especially the fact that you can come back and play college, I think is like definitely the biggest thing. Because I feel like before, like if you didn't think you were good enough for the NBA, like you're just going to stay in college or whatever, or you just like you don't care as much as you did before. Because you said before, like the end goal when you're playing Division I high quality college basketball is to make it to the NBA. I feel like there's just like the options are higher now. Also just the talent level is way higher than it used to be too. There's just so many more talented players, and then you have people who said like RJ Hampton, LaMelo Ball, who showed that you don't even need to go to college to get recognition and make it into the NBA. You obviously have to be a special player to do that, but there's so many pathways to the NBA, and yeah, honestly, college basketball it's exciting. There's a lot of talent this year, and I think it's going to keep continuing to be like this, and there's going to become more and more top prospects as the years go on.
I think the big point to take away from that rule is kind of what Cerb was saying. There's only a certain amount of kids that are going to be able to do that, to make that jump. So, like, I think in general, it'll probably be more beneficial for everyone. The NBA, college basketball, people might stay longer if they aren't as good to go right out of college. And there are so many different, not even just playing overseas. The guy on OKC, Baisley, he was the New Balance intern for a year. So, I mean, there are like crazy avenues that people take to get to the NBA. So, I mean, if you're one of those top 10 guys coming out of high school, you're good enough, and you want to put, depending on your situation, you want to put your family in a better position, I think that guys should be able to chase that dream whenever they want, but also not be punished for it if they, like you were saying, if they're a freshman in college and they want to test the draft waters, don't like what they hear, and they want to come back to school, just be able to have those options. I think it's beneficial for everyone.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, that a lot of these guys who are chasing this dream you don't know their situation, where they could be, a lot of them have children, some of them, a lot of them have families that, don't have a ton, that their dream is to make it to the NBA and provide for them, where it's like before you really want to take your best option, where let's say you enter the draft, you don't make it, you're like, well, I got to do something now. I got to go play at this random Israel team for $100K, and now you could go back, give yourself another year to develop, and who knows, you can have an even better year. And then, like you said, one of those top guys, if you're a special player, don't even have to go to college. You could do whatever, make your money. Just make sure you're always, if I had to give any sort of advice to them, if they're listening, Just make sure you're always doing the best situation for yourself. And I think we're really seeing that. Situations differ. It's not all about the name of the school or the path, but
that's the thing that's like sometimes it's like kind of hard to wrap your head around. Is like when you're watching them out there, you're like, look at these are literally grown men like playing basketball, but they're kids.
Yeah,
they're like, some of them are like 17 years old, like out on the court, but you can't tell because they're 6'8", like they're insanely talented basketball players. Like the step from college to the NBA is such a leap.
Yeah,
like it's like a whole, it's like you're becoming a grown-up like from 17 to 18,
right?
And like some people like aren't ready for that, and they need that extra year or two in college where they can either just develop their game or just like mature and like as a person. Like some of them just aren't ready.
Can either of you imagine being your 19-year-old selves and starting for an NBA team? Like
no.
Like I wouldn't even know what to do with myself. I would be so like I wouldn't have enough concepts of what the world is like, and I'm starting on an NBA team, like, and I have millions of dollars.
Yeah, and there are people that you watched growing up play. Now you're playing against them or playing beside them. Like just imagine, and like there's like 18-year-olds and there's like 36-year-olds like older players. It's just like it's ridiculous. Like these people who were like playing when you were in middle school,
right? And
now you're playing against them or you're playing with them. It's just like a kind of a mind-blowing concept.
Yeah, you had their jersey growing up and now you're guarding them. Like it's crazy.
That's nuts. Like skill, like you can be ridiculously skilled and like talented enough to be in the NBA, but if you're not mentally ready, then you're not going to perform right away. Definitely. Like Kobe wasn't that great like his first year.
Yeah,
like he was obviously like he went right from high school and like you could tell he just wasn't, and that it took him time.
Yeah.
The skill gap, I mean, it's the best, it's the highest level of basketball that there is in the world. Like the skill gap is insane. Like kids, even people you watch play in college, and you like, there are going to be people we watch in college that just dominate, especially this March. And they might make it to the NBA, they might not, but if they do, it's just insane to see how much like you can watch someone dominate like a couple months before, and then 4 months later you watch them play in the NBA and they're like the 8th man coming off the bench. Like it's just insane the skill gap that there is between those. And I think that's one of the reasons why, I mean, makes March so interesting, because everything isn't a sure shot. Anyone has a chance. Everyone gets upset. I mean,
whoa,
just those young guys too. There's really, I mean, like you guys were saying, I literally couldn't imagine being in the NBA when I was 19 years old. Like, that'd be such a shock. Just every part of your life is different.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And before we transition into our NBA fantasy talk, and might get a little heated, but a little lighthearted question. So March Madness coming up, we're all excited. Give me your top three situations, scenes to watch March Madness in. Like, if you can have an ideal situation where all the games are on, what would be a top 3 scenes to watch? Like, the bar, at home with all your, with friends, invite people over, multiple screen. Like, what's your ideal situation for watching March Madness? Go ahead, sir.
Oh, man. I don't necessarily think it's at a bar. I think that I would have a better time if we just had people who loved basketball. Has to be people that are like there to watch the game over like at our place. Just get some, hit up Buddy's Brews.
Oh yeah, shout out
Buddy's Brews. Free promotion for them. And yeah, just have it at our place. Honestly, that's my ideal situation.
Okay.
At the bar, it's just, I don't know. I guess now that the bars are like more like opened up, the atmosphere can be kind of electric, especially if there's a lot of people rooting for a certain team.
Right.
But that's just kind of hard to find because we're in Pittsburgh and Pitt's not,
yeah,
in the tournament.
Yeah, that's true. What do you think, Steve? Is you agree with Cerb?
Yeah, when you're in the bar, there's a lot of people in the bar that aren't there to watch the games.
True.
I like being in an environment where everyone's watching the games. Maybe have a couple screens. Maybe pull out a laptop and maybe a couple of dual screens watching all the games. I mean, I think that's a much better environment to watch if you're actually trying to watch the games and see what happens, and you're interested in seeing what happens, I'd definitely say hanging out with a couple of your friends, getting food, pizza maybe or something,
there you
a couple
go.
drinks, hang out at your crib, watch the games for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm with you guys. I definitely think that's number one. If I could throw in an honorable mention, some of those games, watching those games at the casino is crazy.
I was gonna bring that up. I didn't know if the casino, because I'd never watched them at the casino.
Oh,
but
man.
I think being in a room full of like degenerate gamblers has to be the best possible situation.
Oh, it's hilarious
for March Madness.
I remember last time March Madness was going on, so it's 2019. I was in there for about an hour. I forgot who I was with, but we were just playing some blackjack, watching the games, and we had these two fans who had Arizona State, and they were the only two in the entire little section. So if you're not familiar with Pittsburgh, the Rivers Casino here has a brand new sports booth area where it's just 360 theater TVs around you, and you're just sitting in like the middle, just looking up, watching all the TVs, looking at all the lines and stuff. And March Madness, these two guys were wearing Arizona State jerseys, just going insane when Arizona State won their first round last year, and everyone was looking at them like, what game are these guys watching? Because it's just intense, and everyone's just, because a lot of those people have money on it, so it's like that's another slept on location where the energy is just intense. Maybe a little bit less this year with all the COVID rules and social distance, and there's less capacity, but yeah, multiple screens at home, that's got to be the go-to. So transitioning into our NBA Family Fantasy Basketball League, I'm gonna read you the current standings as of right now. And first is Mike's cousin-in-law, our good friend Pat. In second, my friend Jovan. Third, Trust the Process, that's Rich of the RDC Crew. Fourth, the Long Conley, that's Big Steve right there in fourth.
There you go.
Fifth, Mike, Ace Boogie. And sixth, 50 Shades of Clay. That's the champ right there. I'm currently in seventh. And then after me is Cousin Al. And then my friend Nell, who's Jovan's brother. And then Big Time, who's a friend of the family who, has some trouble checking his phone every once in a while. Shout out to Ant. Shout out to Ant if he's watching. His team is crazy, but he just doesn't click that start active players.
He is nice.
He's active against me.
But it's a real intense league. We're going from the spots that are in jeopardy. 4, 5, 6, 7 is me, Steve, Mike, and Cerb. So my question to you guys is, this playoff race is coming. So top 6 in our league make the playoffs. Top 6, 1 and 2 get a bye, and then the 3, 4, 5, and 6 play to get to the semis, or is that the quarterfinals? To play to get the quarterfinals, I believe. But my first question to you guys, who is one player on your team that surprised you with how well they were playing? You maybe picked them up or drafted them or traded for them, and you weren't really expecting much, but they surprised you with how much they contributed to your team. Go ahead, sir. You start.
Malcolm Brogdon, for sure.
Malcolm Brogdon?
I think I got him. I don't remember exactly. I don't even know if he was in my first 5. He might have been. But he's like consistently all season been giving me 30 plus. He just does everything. Like he's on the Pacers, so like he's like their go-to.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he gives me solid points, and he's always assists, rebounds. Like he fills up the stat sheet. I was definitely expecting him to be like a solid player, like a pretty good pickup, like average between 20-25 a game, but he's been so much more than that.
Okay.
Sometimes giving me 30 to 50.
Wow.
Like, yeah. And he's like, I know he's like top 40, I think, right now. But definitely, I expected like him to be a pretty decent player, but he's definitely given me a lot more than what I was ready for.
All right. What about you, Steve? What do you think?
I gotta go with my boy Vooch.
Oh.
I stole him in the late third round. He's a third overall player. He's a walking double-double.
Yeah.
And he just fills the stat sheet on a terrible Orlando Magic team, which is perfect in fantasy. Just give him the ball and get out of the way. And, I mean, he's my best player by far. Oh, definitely Vooch.
All right.
Can't forget my guy Bobby Boucher though too.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Give him a shout out. Let me give him a shout out real quick.
Good job.
The reason I didn't put him as the player that surprised me is because I didn't draft him. It was a pickup. And like he was one of those guys I remember when I played fantasy like a few years ago. He was my Hassan Whiteside when Hassan was like going off. I like picked him up because he had a game where he had like 20 and 20. I was like, oh, gotta get this guy. But he's been like consistently like a double every game. So gotta give my man a shout out.
All right.
Bobby Boucher.
Shout out Bobby Boucher. Shout out the water boy. For me, it's got to be my boy Zach LaVine. I drafted him, I think, 4th round maybe, something like that. Best player on my favorite team, the Bulls. And he's just been having an amazing season, and his first All-Star appearance. He's like a top 15 consistent guy in fantasy right now, just purely off scoring too. He just scores like 30 plus a night. He does a little bit of assists and rebounds and stuff, but he just comes purely off scoring. He'll drop like 27 to 30 points in pure scoring and just limit his turnovers, and it just turns into 30 to 50.
He's a bucket.
You're shaking your head, Steve. Why are you shaking your head?
That's what I wish Devin Booker was for my team, but he just likes to average 6 turnovers a game, and he just doesn't. He literally doesn't do anything else. He'll score 24, maybe 28 points, 3 or 4 assists, 3 or 4 rebounds, 6 turnovers, and just with 21 points. It's just the most frustrating thing ever.
Crazy. That's what. So Rudy Gobert, or not Rudy Gobert, it's what Rudy Gay gives me now. I just picked him up the other day.
Rudy Gay.
Gives me the same stat line.
Yo, and me and Mike have had this discussion, and we wanted to, now that I got you guys on, I want you guys to address it. You both had what picks in the draft, in the NBA fantasy draft?
I had the wraparound, so I had the 10th pick.
10th pick, okay.
9th pick.
9th pick, so that would be 9th and the 12th?
9th and 2nd. Yeah, 9th and 2nd, the second round.
All right. And in 4 picks, neither of you picked up LeBron, huh? Neither of you picked up LeBron James, your favorite player of all time, and he's having an MVP season. Go ahead. I mean, explain yourselves.
You go first, Steve.
Explain yourselves.
I mean, look, he's the GOAT. That's not the point of the conversation.
Okay.
I thought that he was going to load manage a lot more this year. Man's in his 18th season. I thought he was going to take a load off his body. He obviously hasn't been. AD's been hurt. They need some.
Right.
And he's been giving them everything. And I folded. I mean, like I said, Devin Booker's been underperforming for me all year. That's who I picked instead of LeBron. I'm a big LeBron guy too. It's just an embarrassment for me. I didn't draft him.
That is. Cerb, you don't have as much defending to do because you got some good picks out of it. But let's hear what you got to say.
So I had the wraparound. So I had 10 and 11, and I used 10 and 11 to get KD and oh my God, who else did I got? Oh, and Jason Tatum, which I don't regret. I really don't, because Jason Tatum's been a bucket this year. But the reason I didn't pick LeBron, similar to Steve, I definitely did think he was going to rest a lot more than he is currently. The dude's bionicle. I don't know how he doesn't stop.
Oh, yeah.
But I definitely thought he was going to rest more. He also made a bunch of comments in the offseason about, like, this is AD's team now, which obviously was a lie, because it's not. This is your year, young blood.
Right.
Whatever he said. So I was like, okay, this is going to be, they're going to run the offense through Anthony Davis. Then I kind of forgot that the person who runs the offense is LeBron. So whether it's through AD or not, he's going to get his touches. I don't know. I mean, do I regret it? No. But I wouldn't also be upset if I got LeBron instead.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I missed out, because Jason Tatum's giving me everything that LeBron does. He plays every night, and he gives up the same stat line. He's the number 1 option on the Celtics. So I'm not too upset about it. It was to me, it was a safer pick to get Jason Tatum.
All right. That's what Devin Booker felt like, Steve, or safer
I
pick?
mean, did I expect LeBron to be leading the league or at the top of the league in assists? I did not. But if we're talking about picks or going over LeBron, you're saying Cerb had better picks than me. He did draft KD, and KD has been sitting a lot this year. He did trade him though. That's his
crazy.
Pick.
He's not on my team anymore though.
Wow.
Yeah, but that was his pick. He's been sitting a lot. He got lucky because Mike likes to make 45 moves during the season.
Right. And what I had I picked KD.
Who was the part of that?
That was like what was blowing my. That was my best pick. The dude was averaging 50 when I had him.
He was having an MVP season until he got hurt.
He was having an MVP season, and I happened to have traded him at the perfect time because then he got hurt and started resting, and then
they're saving him.
I don't know.
And the Brooklyn Nets, let's be honest, no matter how much.
And then they got James Harden.
Manages. Yeah, he could take his sweet time. They're not in a struggle.
He's fine. Yeah,
for wins
They're still
or
winning
points.
every game.
All right, I got another question for you guys on your team.
Sure.
Before we wrap up this segment and wrap up the podcast, one guy on your team as we're heading down the stretch that you need to pick it up a little bit in order for you to make a deep playoff run. One guy on your team who you're expecting, superstardom from, or maybe not even superstardom, but to be a solid part of your team. And if you're gonna make a deep run in the playoffs and try to win this thing, who's one guy you need to step it up? Go ahead. Go ahead, Steve, because I think I know your answer already. So let's get you out the way.
Who do you think is going to be, actually, though?
I mean, if it's not Devin Booker, I don't know who it is.
It has to be Devin Booker.
No, it's actually not Devin Booker. It's not Devin Booker.
Okay.
I've lost all hope on Devin Booker. I know he's going to give me 21 points, 22 points a night. A real player that I think I need to step up, Jamal Murray. He started off slow when I had him. I traded Dame for Jeremy Grant and Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray was slow, and Jeremy Grant picked up his out of the trade. But he's been coming on strong. I think he's like ranked 33rd player. I think he's the potential to be a top 20 guy. I mean, if he can finish the season in the top 20 rankings or just play like it, I think that'll be huge for my playoff run. It'll be huge for me.
All right. So Jamal Murray. All right. How about you, sir? What do you think?
I mean, I kind of have two.
Okay.
So the first one is just about him being consistent. Is Rudy Gobert.
Okay.
Because he's almost like an automatic double-double, but he has off nights where he'll just go he'll go like 5 and 7, and it's just not good enough. But then the other night, like he had 62 because he had like 22 and 28. He's just like he's too hot and cold right now.
Right.
I need to be able to rely on him to get me at least 30 points a night. And right now, he just, I can't promise that he's going to do that every night. The other one is Drew Holiday.
Okay.
Because early on in the year when I picked him up, he was giving me buckets. He's giving me close to 30 every night because he's like another one of those stat sheet stuffers. He does everything. But he had like a 2-week break because he was like a COVID contact with somebody.
Ooh.
So since he's been back, he's been like kind of slow, and I need him to be like consistent. If he can give me 25 a night, between 20 and 25 a night, like I'll be okay with that. But he needs to like be consistent for me to win.
All right, I like that. I got a similar answer. I got two as well. One who, like you said, I need to continue to be consistent, and one who I needed to pick it up a little bit is the first one. My main was Rui Hachimura. I got him in a really low-key trade with Mike, who I traded him Nurkic and Duncan Robinson for LaMelo Ball and Hachimura. And for me, that worked out great because Nurkic broke his hand like a week after and has been out since. He's posing to make a comeback here soon, but he's been out that entire time. LaMelo Ball has been outstanding, Rookie of the Year by a long shot. Duncan Robinson has been average, pretty much what you expect from him. He gets threes, he gets points. He doesn't do it much else. He doesn't get a lot of turnovers. But Hachimura is that like could be that X factor for me in the point where all I need from him is 20 average. Like 20, if he can get 30, that's amazing. But he has games where he'll drop, like recently, he dropped 48, he dropped 35. he dropped 36, and then he'll have games he has 9. Another game he has 6, and he just disappears. So I think if he can find his role in that offense, because he's another one of those guys who was out for COVID. Washington had a bunch of COVID issues, and he missed like 2 or 3 week stretch where it seemed like he had a weird time getting back into the flow of things. But he's dominant, like in his sort of game. He plays the wing. He could hustle, and that's what he does. He hustles and he gets like scrappy points, and that looks good on the fantasy stat sheet, grabbing boards and getting steals and putting up points. But I'd say him, if I'm going to try to make a run at playoffs, he's one of those guys where if I can have him producing on top of my other guys, then I'll be set. Then my second guy was just Buddy Hield. He's turned it up a lot recently. 49, 45, 39, 35, low of 21, 31. If he could stay like that and be who I thought he was when I drafted him, that'd be great. And not the 77 overall they put him as in 2K. Yo, if any of you devs listening, Ronnie 2K, you especially, if you're listening to this, why is Peyton Pritchard a 75 and Buddy Hield a 77? Why is Daniel Tice a 78 and Buddy Hield's a 77? Are you kidding me? Do you watch basketball? Why is Buddy Hield a 77? At least an 80. At least an 82. He's a shooter. He scores. 77? He's a bum in 2K. He's a bum.
This game's so broken.
What is...
The ratings are just as broken as the game.
Are we serious with that? 77?
Gosh.
One in 2K20 for me was the Victor Oladipo rating. It was actually absurd. He was like an 82. There were guys that were like way worse than that. Were like an 88, and I was like, "What's going on right now?"
Wow.
He got injured.
Yeah, I mean, they gotta get it together on the 2K end. We gotta get our teams
100%.
going for this playoff run. It was good having you guys on though for the March Madness episode. Without Mike, it was my first time hosting. It's the first time in RDC podcast history out of 112 episodes that Mike wasn't on an episode. It's the only one who's never missed an episode. And shout out to Mike. We miss you. Hope you and Sonny Boy are doing well. Give my sister a little bit of a break. I know you probably need a break next, so I'll call you soon. But me and Mike will be back sometime in the next week or so to do a real full RDC episode with UFC and all that. This was the March Madness episode. Got my boy Steve, my boy Cerb. Thanks for coming out. We're going to get you guys on soon again. Maybe talk some UFC. I know we all like the fights. A lot of big fights coming up. Maybe talk some NBA playoffs when we get around that time. But appreciate you guys. RDC, episode 112. We out. Peace.
For sure. Got to do this again.